everybody, and welcome to Living Plant-Based with Rosie. So this is my new channel. Today we're going to be making a cooked plant-based pizza. Yes, cooked plant-based healthy pizza, that is, because I mostly eat raw, but I started this channel because I cooked plant-based dinners for my husband. He eats raw throughout the day like I do, but for dinner, he prefers to have a cooked meal once in a while. So I started cooking for him in the evenings and cooking dinners, sometimes lunches, and I thought I'd share my recipes with you on this new channel. You could also follow me on Living Raw with Rosie. That's my other channel, and I'll leave a link below where you guys could follow me, where I do prep raw recipes that I mostly eat for myself. But let's get started with this recipe. We're going to start the preparation for our dough. So the first thing you're going to need is, you're going to need 3/4 cup of water. And I'm going to show you two ways of doing this, because a lot of people are vegans that don't eat honey, and you need honey for this part of the recipe. But I have an alternative for people who don't like to eat, who are environmentally conscious and don't want to eat honey, or who are hardcore vegans and don't want to eat honey. But this is my version for you guys. So the first one, you're going to need 3/4 cup of water. And on the second version, the one that I usually eat, that I enjoy, is 3/4 cup of coconut water, sweet coconut water. There's different kinds of coconut water, but I like this one that I buy at Costco because it's kind of sweet. Piece of basil fell in there. So yeah, I think that's okay. That's a little bit over 3/4. So I just went a little tiny over. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. All right. So we have these two cups with 3/4 water and 3/4 coconut. So on the water, you're going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of raw honey. And this is the one I buy at Whole Foods. It's organic raw honey. So raw honey usually looks like this. If you guys are buying the regular honey that says raw honey and it's not white, it's probably been spinned or processed. It's probably not raw. So you're going to put this in the water and just mix it up a little bit like this. And it's going to dilute on its own because the water is lukewarm. Then you're going to put, a pack of yeast. You buy these at the supermarket. This is a gluten-free yeast, Red Star. And the only ingredient in here is yeast. Let me get this honey off of my finger. So you're going to need one of these packages for each one of the cups of water here, and you could buy these at any grocery store has them, and they're gluten-free, so that's great. So you could go ahead and put 1 pack. They don't tear that easy. 1 pack in each one of these cups of water, and you're going to just let that sit and put that aside. So that's the first step for our dough. Okay? And okay, so the next step is we're gonna do our tomato sauce. So what I did is I got some red vine tomatoes, and they were a little bit bigger than this. So it had 3 big ones, and I got a whole little canister of organic grape little baby tomatoes. So the other canister of these, and 3 big Roma tomatoes. And I blended these up and I put them in the saucepan like this. So you blend that very well and put it in your saucepan, and you're gonna put tomato paste. Now I found this brand, which is wonderful. It's organic tomato paste, and the only ingredient in here is tomato from Costco. So this is a great way to get your salt in here without adding salt into your sauce. So tomatoes are naturally salty, so you get that natural salt from them. I accidentally opened the can, so I have to turn it over the wrong way. So you're gonna go ahead at this point and you're gonna put about, I would say, 1 big teaspoon or teaspoon and a half of tomato paste. You could add more if you want your sauce to be a little saltier as well. You're gonna put that in there. And with the rest of the tomato paste, go ahead and get those little snack size baggies and make about 2 or 3 bags of it in there and go ahead and put them in the freezer. That way your tomato paste will last longer, because tomato paste won't last longer since it's organic and it's natural. It's gonna spoil right away. So go ahead and make it into 3 parts and freeze it in the freezer. Next time you make pizza, you could take one out. Okay, so we're gonna put that in there. And then you're gonna put, in my case, I have fresh basil, so I diced up some basil leaves, and I'm gonna drop that in there. If you don't have fresh basil, don't worry, you could go ahead and put dry basil in there. And then you're gonna put some Italian seasoning. I have this organic Italian seasoning that I bought at BJ's a while back. So I would say about a good teaspoon and a half as well. Put that in there. And if you don't have Italian seasoning is just a combination of rosemary, basil, thyme, a little oregano, and I guess that's it. So it's just a combination of those, maybe a little bit of cumin in it, a combination of all those spices. So if you don't have this, you can put all those spices in here. So then you're gonna put this and you're just gonna simmer it on the stove and just turn it until it's nice and warm. So let's put this aside. Now we're gonna go ahead and start our pizza dough. So this is what you're gonna need. You're gonna need a medium-sized bowl. You're gonna need a cold press, organic, if you could find, olive oil. Now, I don't like using oils in my food or recipes as much as I can. I try not to use them, but I do use them occasionally and very tiny bit. So in this case, I'll show you guys why we're gonna need the olive oil. And you're gonna need a whole wheat flour. And this one's Red Mills that I get at Whole Foods or Sprouts. If you live in the area where they have a Sprouts, you could purchase them there too. So, and a measuring cup. Okay, so we're gonna start with 1.5 cups of flour. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill my cup with 1 cup and then half. So I try to do it this way so I make less of a mess, but I still end up spilling on the table. So that's about 1 cup. Now I'm going to do 1/2 cup. And this dough is going to make 2 medium pizzas, or it could make 1 extra large pizza. So it goes a long way. You could feed your family with it. Okay. I think that's about right. Let's see. Yep. 1/2 cup. So 1.5 cups of flour. So let me move this aside. And now I'm gonna grab my yeast, and as you can see, it bubbled all the way to the top. So this is the one with the coconut water. At this point, you could also, if you like, I personally don't think it needs it, and I don't do it, but if you like, you could put a pinch of Himalaya pink salt here if you want a little salt in your dough. But for me, the dough has its natural salt. I mean, I can smell the grain in this flour right now, and it has natural salt. So we're gonna put that in there. And before you start this part, I want to tell you guys that it's very important that you always have a little brush like this by your sink like I do. It's been used a lot. Scrub your hands with warm water and soap and your nails very well before you start this process, okay? So I did that earlier. So what I'm going to do before I get my hands in there, I'm going to prep myself with a little bit of flour on the side. So in case I need to add flour, in case the ratio of liquid to flour is not good, okay? So I'm going to use one hand and I'm going to start working my dough here. So as you can see right away, it turns into a little ball of dough. Really quick. It doesn't take long. I gotta show you guys. See, really quick because the ratio is actually really good. I'm gonna just put a little bit more flour because you want your dough, you don't want to overwork your dough. You don't want to like really work it too much because you want that yeast to fluff up your dough. So this is what you do, and you put a little bit, it's kind of sticky, so I'm going to put a little bit more flour. So you just keep adding flour as you need it, but very little, because if you add too much, remember you won't have any more liquid to put in it. But in case you do, just add some more, a little bit more lukewarm water. Okay, so now I'm going to start working it with my two hands and kind of needling it in. Let me put a little bit more flour because it's still a little too sticky for my taste. So just keep working your dough until and try to do it with one hand so you could add flour with the other one, because once your fingers get really sticky, it's hard to get that dough off of your fingers and still try to grab stuff around you. And I'll show you why I only try to use one hand. Although I did get dough in these fingers. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So you want it sticky but not super sticky. And I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna I don't know, it's needle in. As you can see, it's still sticky on this finger, but it's okay. You want it kind of sticky. And this is where the olive oil comes in. So you're gonna do this. You're gonna get another bowl like this. Let me put this on the side. And you're gonna get very little olive oil. Oops. I kind of poured a little too much. Get rid of that. So you want just a little bit of olive oil, even less than this. This is probably too much. And you want to go ahead and spread that olive oil all over your bowl, like this, or a plate, anything you have. And then that olive oil is going to help you get the rest of the dough off of your fingers. Like this. And what you're going to do is get your dough that you have here in this bowl, and you're going to let it sit. So it should be sticky, but not sticky where it sticks to your fingers anymore like that. So you basically bathe it in the olive oil like that in the bowl. Make sure it gets on all the dough. And like I said, you don't need a lot. A little bit will go a long way. In fact, I'm actually going to use this olive oil because I don't like to use oils. They're not the healthiest thing. I'm going to use it for my other dough that I have set aside here. And go ahead. It's already rising. This dough's already rising because I had it sitting there, but it didn't have olive oil on it. So I'm going to use the rest of the olive oil in this pan and let it sit. So you're going to let it sit, both of your doughs like that, for about, I would say, a good 15 minutes. It would take 15 to 20 minutes. Cover it up with a towel or saran wrap plastic. I'm trying to wean myself off of plastic, but I have these little plastic things that cover your food, and I want to finish them off. But you could go ahead and cover this with a kitchen towel, paper towel, and you're going to let it sit on your counter for those 20 minutes and let it rise, okay? And I'll be right back. And so what we do next is we're going to first you guys are going to have to turn your oven on at this point during the whole process to 400 degrees, okay? So preheat it, go ahead and start preheating it at 400, and you're gonna start dicing all your veggies that you're gonna put on your pizza. So in my case, I'm gonna use 3 kinds of bell peppers. I have red, orange, and yellow. I have 2 zucchinis, squash. I have a yellow and a green. You don't have to use zucchini, but I kind of like the crunch of the zucchini on top of it. 2 tomatoes, and I'm gonna dice up some yellow and red onion, yellow and purple onion, I'm sorry. My portobello mushrooms, I'm gonna dice those up, and I'm gonna use my green power melody here that I have. It's organic green power KO melody that I have here of green mixes. If I don't have spinach, but if I had spinach, I would only use spinach, but this works just fine. Quick tip: when you buy these containers with your greens, your power greens, always put a paper towel in there. The paper towel is going to absorb the moisture and they'll last longer for you. Yeah, so I'll be right back after I'm done dicing this, and we'll prep the pizza and put it in the oven and show you guys how it's gonna look. Oh, by the way, I went ahead and I made the little baggies with my tomato paste. So each baggie is gonna be able to be used for about 2 pizzas. So it's gonna be used for the equivalent, I think it would be like the 3 tomatoes and the grape tomatoes that I blended for the pan. So you could use about, I think it's like a big tablespoon, I think I put them. Yeah, it seems like a tablespoon in there. So you go ahead and freeze these little baggies in the freezer, and there's your tomato paste. They'll never go to waste and you could use it. I wish they made little tiny glass jars so you could freeze things like this and I wouldn't have to use plastic. But right now I have to use that. Okay, so I'll dice this up and I'll be back. Okay guys, so I have to apologize for the lighting. It makes it look a little yellowish now. You can see the difference because I turned the lights on because it got kind of cloudy outside, so I'm not getting a lot of that natural light coming in. But yeah, here are my veggies. As you can see, I diced the bell peppers, the 3 colors, the onions, my portobello mushrooms, tomato, and my zucchini squash, and my greens are ready on one side. It's a good idea to fix a platter with veggies like this when you make pizza for your family because it gives them the opportunity to choose their own toppings, and it makes it beautiful. You're eating all the rainbow colors, and it makes it attractive for them to want to eat the veggies. So we're going to put that aside. Now we're going to get our dough over here. So as you can see, they rised already. That's one, and here's the other one. So I'm gonna show you 2 ways that you guys could bake these doughs, okay? Because not everybody has a stone for pizza like I do. I have my stone here where I make my pizza, and if you don't have one, don't worry, you could just use a regular cookie sheet. But what you're gonna need is, which I forgot to grab, I'm gonna get it. You're gonna need some parchment paper for the tray. Got it. Okay, so you just need a good piece of parchment paper to put on your tray, and I'll show you guys how you could do that. So kind of like the long way, but since this is baking at 400 degrees, make sure that the parchment paper is not sticking out of the tray because it will burn at that high temperature. little corner there. But yeah, so go ahead and put that on your cookie sheet. If one end sticks out too much, you could go ahead and just fold it in. Fold that end inside so it doesn't stick out of the cookie sheet. Just like that. And let's start with the cookie sheet one. Okay. So this is going to be a square pizza since it's on the cookie sheet. And you're going to need a little bit of flour. So go ahead and put that flour right there. You're going to get flour and you're going to put it in your hands because the dough is going to be a little bit sticky. And just start with your fingers, start grabbing it from the bowl like this. So like I said, it's sticky and you're going to lay it down. So what you do next is just kind of start stretching it little by little like this. I made it, so you're going to start just working the dough and bringing it out to the sides. You don't need a rolling pin, but you could use a rolling pin. If you want to go ahead and put this down on a cutting board, and feel free to use flour if it's too sticky still, like I did right now to work with it. So you could use a rolling pin on a board and you could roll this out as well. But I find that I really don't need to do that if I use my fingers. And since it's really fluffy from the yeast, it stretches out very well, as you can see. I'm stretching it. So you can stretch this as far out as you want, depending if you want a thick crust or if you want a thin crust. Okay. Just keep putting the flour if you need it. Yeah, I think I probably made this one a little too sticky. So when you're working with the dough, make sure it's not too sticky like this one. But there, I think that's about good. So you can make a square pizza. There's been times where I do fill the whole tray and I make a completely square big pizza. And then there's times where I make it like this, kind of like an oval pizza. Like this. So there's our oval pizza. And you're going to put this in the oven for about, in your 400 degree oven for about 5 minutes or less. But about 5 minutes should be really good because it's not that thick. We kind of like it thin. Now I'm going to do the stone one. Put that on the side. Again, you're going to put your flour on the stone, or your if you have a pizza tin, and more flour on my fingers. I've been munching on those veggies, those raw veggies when I was dicing. They're so delicious. Because I probably won't have, I'll probably have a piece of this, but I probably won't have more than one slice of this pizza. I sometimes tend, as my friend, she already knows if she's watching this, Janelle. Last time we made pizza and she was over, I just like ate all the toppings and I didn't even eat the dough part. I was just leaving all the dough part. Not that it doesn't taste good, it tastes delicious, but since I mostly eat raw, I love the veggies. I'm like so addicted to veggies and fruit. It's like my favorite food in the whole world, veggies. Okay, so I'm just stretching it. It's easy to work with this dough, just with your hands. Like I said, you could use a rolling pan or your fingers. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in the oven and I'll be right back so we could make the other. So I got the pizza out of the oven, and as you can see, it got a little bit fluffy there, and it cooked a little bit, and it actually took less than 5 minutes because the oven is really hot. So I went ahead and I put the sauce on this one. So what I did is I just simmered the sauce that we mixed in earlier. I simmered it over the stove, and at this point you just do this. You just put all your sauce on top of your pizza, And the sauce that I made is actually very good for two large pizzas, as you can see. And the dough, each recipe for the dough makes a good one large pizza or two medium individual, or two small individuals actually, not a medium one. So this is a pretty good sized pizza. So yeah, I just put the dough on there. I just put the sauce on there, just like that. And now I'm gonna prep the pizza. So for my husband's pizza, I'm actually gonna put this vegan gourmet shreds, well, on one pizza. I'm not saying I'm gonna eat the whole other pizza, but I'm just gonna show you two different ways of you to make this pizza. This is vegan gourmet shreds, and you find this, I found this at my health food store. You can find these like at Whole Foods or Sprouts, or our Good Earth store that we have here in Utah. It's vegan gourmet shreds, and it's 100% dairy free, gluten free, soy free, and it supposedly melts really good. But last time we used it when my friends were over, it didn't really melt that well. But here it is, and that's what I'm going to use on one of the pizzas because he likes that cheese texture. He really likes to feel like he's eating the whole cheese, and it does taste like cheese. I tasted a little piece. It tastes exactly like mozzarella cheese. Really good actually, and it has that salty flavor. So it's a good thing if it doesn't have soy, because unless it's like organic soy, they grow soy, all the soy that they grow here in the US is GMO basically. And if you're able to get organic soy, that's wonderful, and it's usually from overseas. Okay, so that one. You don't need cheese. Remember, it tastes just as good without the so-called cheese. It tastes just as good. You don't have to put any of that. So now that I put that on his, I'm going to go ahead and start mine. Well, the other pizza. I keep saying mine because I don't even try to taste that one. So you're going to put tomatoes, because the tomatoes are kind of wet, and they're going to give the pizza that when cheese melts, it kind of gets moist at the bottom. So that's why I like to put the tomatoes down first, because the tomatoes are going to give it that whole little kind of like moist taste at the bottom of the pizza, just as cheese would when it melts. So we're going to lay those down first, and then, oh well, I'm going to have to dice more tomatoes for the other pizza, because I like to cover it in tomatoes. And then right now you could go ahead and put your greens, because the greens need to be next to the tomato, because the tomato, the moisture, once the greens start cooking down, the moisture from the tomatoes are going to make sure that the greens are not dry, because then they'll get dry and crunchy, like kale does when you bake kale. You ever make kale chips? It's really crunchy. Now I'm going to put some of the zucchini, because the zucchini is going to release some moisture on top of that. And then I'm going to put, so it isn't kind of important if you're making it without cheese how you put your toppings. Then we'll put the mushrooms, because the mushrooms are also going to release some moisture on top of those greens. I love portobello mushrooms. And portobello mushrooms are very hard to find organic too. So most of my greens and veggies are organic, and very few are not, because if it's in season and I really need it for a recipe and I can't find it organic, I have to go conventional. But try to get as much of your fruits and veggies organic as possible. Now the onions, and then the bell peppers, and you put as much or as little as you like. I really like to pack it up with vegetables, so you could get more vegetables in there than the pizza dough. And this refrigerates very well for the next day. So you guys could take leftovers to work or school with you. So yep, this is it. So as you can see, it's piled like a mile high. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in the oven. Then I'm gonna top that one. So here it is, you guys, the finished product, the cooked, my cooked healthy pizza. So I'm gonna give you guys, let me see, I've been munching on it, on a little piece right here, but I'm gonna show you guys. See if you can see that, everything's cooked through. Make sure the dough cooks. I actually put it in the oven for about 25 minutes. So make sure that the dough gets cooked. And I wanna show you guys this. I have my Parmesan cheese, my raw vegan Parmesan cheese that I make in my other channel, Living Raw with Rosie. I want you guys to go check it out. It tastes exactly like Parmesan cheese, and it has the same texture. You wouldn't know that it's not Parmesan cheese. So I'm gonna leave a link below so you guys could go check this out and check the recipe, and hopefully you'll be surprised at the taste and how delicious this is. So you could go ahead and put this on your pizza, and you could also add jalapenos. I buy pickled jar jalapenos because I am Latin and I miss that spiciness in my food. So I'm gonna go ahead and put jalapenos on my slice in a little while, or you could add red pepper flakes, whichever topping you prefer. So I'm gonna go ahead and taste this, and I'm gonna let you guys know how it tastes. Oh, so delicious. Sorry, there's a fruit fly there. So delicious, you guys. No salt added to this recipe. So I'm tasting the whole wheat grain in the dough. I'm tasting the tomato, the veggies, and everything. But if you guys don't have an issue with diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, you could go ahead and add salt to the tomato sauce, pink Himalaya salt. You could add salt to the flour before you make it into a dough. And you could have this a little saltier for your family if they like, if they prefer salt in their pizza. But I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank you for supporting my new channel. Please give me a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe below, and also follow me on Living Raw with Rosie for other great recipes if you want to transition to eating raw and cooked as well. So I want to thank you guys for all your support. You guys have a wonderful evening. I hope you love this recipe and try it. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.